TSN's Motoring 94 is brought to you by Quaker State. Quaker State, one tough motor oil. And Midas. For brake, exhaust, suspension, and steering service, trust your car to Midas.
You know, during a recession, many things suffer, including charitable organizations. Companies and individuals tend to tighten their belts, and few are in the giving mood. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Motoring 94. Now, it's no secret that the automotive industry has also been suffering through the recessionary blues. But later on, we're going to show you how that vehicle and its manufacturer is bucking the trend and are giving something back to the community. Now, on another subject, the European automotive community has been in a bit of shock these past few days with the announcement that Volvo was canceling plans to merge with Renault. Will that be a good decision? Well, time will tell. But there's one decision I'll guarantee you that Volvo did make that it will never regret, and that was opening up an assembly plant in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Well, that plant is now celebrating its 30th anniversary. The plant is located in Dartmouth, across the harbor from Halifax. It assembles cars for the Canadian and United States markets. In honor of the 30th anniversary, Volvo has restored the very first car to come off the line in 1964. It's a 122S that sold in those days for just under $3,000. This car will be donated to the Nova Scotia Museum.
Those 30 years I think have been good of many reasons. It was a adventure, I should say, when Volvo came here, 1963. The car sales have been on for a number of years already at that time, but when we came here, I think we were one of the first, if not the first, transplant in North America. And I think that we have managed to stay in the continent all over those years have been some kind of a good thing for the company. I think first of all it's different factors that make it possible to produce a car good. One of the contributing factors, I think, is that we have a very good workforce here in Halifax, and most of the people from the beginning are still here. And I think that is a contributing factor to say that we have a very good quality standard on our cars. From the beginning, I should say, the plant was established for the Canadian market only, and that is the main purpose still. We have, as you know, a recession, maybe still ongoing, and we have adjusted our volume consequently to what the Canadian market can swallow.
Right now we're building about 6,000 cars a year, which is 24 cars a day. We build for the US and Canada, and we build for the 940 and the 945. That's a 4-door and a 5-door version. The 940 for Canada we ship all the way across to Vancouver. For the US we ship down to Newark in New Jersey. It's very good for the area. We have 150 jobs here. They are very well-paying jobs for the area. Volvo, apart from being a good product, is also a good employer. We have good wages. I think we have good benefits as well. Yes, it has done quite a bit for the area, there's no doubt about that.
I still think that we, within Volvo, try to keep the safety image very, very high. I think most other companies today have to or have realized that safety is an important factor for anyone. On top of that, I think we would like to have a car that you quite easily can identify as a Volvo. When you see it, it is a Volvo. And for that reason, I think that the Volvo maybe doesn't look like exactly the same as all other cars. But we are quite proud for that. That's what is Volvo.
Do you know where you were driving 4 weeks ago at exactly 7:32 p.m.? Well, the police know, and they've got a photo to prove it. I'll tell you how your civil rights are being infringed by photo radar later on in the show.
Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
This week on Test Drive, we look at the 1994 GMC Sonoma. Now this truck, along with its sister, the Chevy S10, have been totally redesigned from stem to stern.
The instant my daughter laid eyes on the new Sonoma, she christened it Barney. For the uninitiated, Barney is a big purple dinosaur. Under Barney's hood sits a high-output version of GM's 4.3-litre V6. This engine is based on the bulletproof 5.7-litre V8 engine, minus the two back cylinders. Power is rated at a very healthy 195 horses and 260 pounds-feet of torque. Helping out here is GM's Vortex Swirl Port induction system, a complicated intake design. When you pick this beauty, you also get engine and transmission oil coolers and a heavy-duty radiator, making the truck well equipped for towing. Matched with this engine is an electronically controlled 4-speed automatic with overdrive. For the most part, it allows the driver to make good use of the engine's power. The drawback is that it's been programmed to drop into overdrive mode as soon as possible to improve fuel economy. Under these conditions, the engine drops out of the power band and starts to lug. The solution, thankfully, is to drive the thing around town in drive rather than overdrive. Just remember, though, to nudge it back into overdrive when you hit the highway. The suspension on the Sonoma features an independent double wishbone design with coil springs and a sway bar up front. In the back there are a pair of two-stage leaf springs. The advantage of the two-stage setup is that the first stage gives you reasonable comfort, while the second stage handles the heavy loads. In a nutshell, you get the best of both worlds.
Under normal circumstances, I would never dream of running a pickup truck through the pylon tests. However, this new Sonoma has been so good out on the open road, I figured, what the heck, it's got to be good for a giggle. Wrong. The results really surprised me. Now, while this truck isn't a BMW through the pylons, it certainly gave a lot of other cars we've tested a real run for their money.
Not only did the Sonoma handle the pylon test rather well, it offered a surprisingly high degree of ride comfort. There is absolutely no requirement for a kidney belt with this pickup. The only thing you must watch for is unwanted oversteer. This results from having a light rear end and a powerful engine. In winter, I think some extra weight in the back will be a necessity. Stopping power is supplied by a front disc rear drum setup. The truly nice part being is that when you go with either of the two V6 engines, you get a four-wheel anti-lock system. During the brake tests, I required 123 feet to stop from 80k. These figures are good for a truck. When GM redesign a truck, they stop at nothing. Even the box has been rethought. Along with the obligatory tie-downs, you now have the option of dropping in some 2x6s into special cutouts and creating a two-tier setup.
One of the big improvements GM have made on the new Sonoma is the interior. It's very much more car-like than it used to be. Down on the door panel here, you've got a full slate of power options, cruise control, a great set of analog instrumentation that displays the information very nicely, a radio that's mounted near perfectly. It comes complete with a cassette, and beside that, they've given us at long last rotary-style heater controls. Now these things are a lot better than the Mickey Mouse button setup they've used in the past.
Elsewhere in the roomy interior, you'll find a pair of jump seats in back and a nice 60-40 split bench up front. Unlike most bench seats, this one has some shape, improving the level of support. In an effort to improve occupant safety, GM have added some side impact members and a high-mounted stoplight. An airbag was conspicuous by its absence.
The list of improvements GM have made to Old Barney here are indeed impressive. More room, more power, better performance, better ride, the list goes on. With credentials like that, I think it's safe to say that GM will solidify their position as the #1 purveyor of light trucks in Canada.
Nissan Canada should be proud of the bond that they are forging in the community and to their commitment to society at large.
Nissan Canada held an outdoor news conference this summer to announce they were parting with 5 Nissan Accesses, and at no charge.
We've launched a national pilot project whereby we're lending Meals on Wheels some Nissan Access wagons for their use for a one-year pilot project. We've lent them 5 vehicles in Vancouver and 5 vehicles in Montreal and now 5 in Toronto. So a total of 15 vehicles that will be in use by Meals on Wheels in our communities across Canada for delivering these noon-hour meals to the homebound in our communities from coast to coast.
Meals on Wheels started about 30 years ago in Ontario, and we deliver to homebound clients or anybody who cannot prepare or obtain their own food. The vehicles basically will be used to deliver the Meals on Wheels, and delivery takes place from 11 till 1:30 every day. And we deliver every day, and we have about 200 clients per day. So that's quite a few. We're one of the largest agencies in Metro. By doing what they've done and how they've done it is a commitment. It's a year commitment. I mean, what other company do you know that is going to foot the entire bill? And if we get into an accident, they will replace the vehicle. Donating something, it could be whatever, a piece of equipment like a camera, is very simple to do. Here's a piece of equipment, write it off, and that's the end of that. You know, your relationship is over. But they haven't done that. This is amazing. I mean, to take care of the vehicle, not just to hand over a vehicle, but to also take care of it, the maintenance, the insurance, and it's an ongoing relationship. And at the end of that, which I think is very impressive, they're going to evaluate this program and see what else they can do and how much they can further it, or whether it's really gone badly, and, you know, which I doubt very much. But, you know, that's very good at the end to evaluate something, because that's something we're used to doing, you know, very much of at the agency level.
Incidentally, Meals on Wheels are always looking for volunteers. If you're interested in contacting them, we'll put up a number at the end of the program. All right, let's now contact our man in the garage, Bill Gardner.
We had a letter from one of our viewers concerning tire rotation, and this particular person had 2 distinctly different cars, and his 2 owner's manuals did not agree on the rotation pattern. Now, years ago, you may remember that we used to rotate the spare in. Today's cars, of course, have space-saver tires. You don't rotate those in. The reason that you do rotate tires in the first place is to try and even up some of these uneven wear patterns that can exist left to right or between front and rear tires. Now, there may be reasons why you want to deviate from the suggested pattern in your owner's manual, and all I can tell you is there's no hard, fast rule as to the way you should rotate those tires. To give you an example, this rear-wheel drive minivan, we've got 2 very different brands of all-season tires on it, and we've made sure that the coarsest tire is on the drive wheel for the wintertime. Now, we don't have any uneven wear problems on this vehicle, so we're not concerned right now about rotating the tires. If we rotate them at all, we'll do that in the summertime. Now, this rear-wheel drive pickup truck, for example, we've got snow tires on the drive axle. We're not going to move those at all, and for obvious reasons. Now, when we move to this front-wheel drive car over here, we have, again, different brands of all-season tires, and we can see one of the prime reasons for rotating those tires. And here you can see that the inside of this tire is almost worn down to nothing, and the outside is still quite serviceable. We've got a toe-out problem, a misalignment problem on this car. Now, we might be able to correct that alignment problem and maybe rotate this tire to the rear of the car and get a few more miles out of it. In most cases, you'd probably want to replace it because you're never going to even up that drastic a difference in wear between the inside and outside of the tire. And this brings to light another point, and that is that we want to make sure that the wheel alignment is to spec on all 4 corners of our vehicle so that we don't get these abnormal wear patterns. So when you replace or change tires, it's a good idea to have that wheel alignment verified, have it checked and adjusted. Make sure that your tire pressures are kept adjusted monthly so that you don't get uneven wear between the shoulders of the tire or maybe overinflation wear on the inside. And I'm going to suggest to you that when you do, if and when you do rotate the tires on your car, take a piece of crayon and mark the original position of the tire on the inner sidewall. You may find that after you've finished rotating those wheels that you've created a slightly different handling or steering feel to that car. The customer may not like it, and you may want to move back to your original setup. If you've chalked the inside of the tire, it'll make life a lot easier.
Recently, Motoring 94 received notice that Central Ontario was about to be invaded. Invaded by a group determined to have fun at Wasaga Beach.
The event started in '91. It was a club event. We made some arrangements with the town to run an event here. Expected 60, 70 cars. We informed all the groups. We ended up with 135 cars. That seemed to be that Wasaga Beach for a beach cruise was the right place. Got a little better organized going into year 2 and expected around the 230 to 250 and got ourselves ready for that. And when we ran out of registrations, we started a mailing list and we went well into the 300 mark. This year, pre-registered before the event, 300 cars, and we're well into the 400s here right now. Well, the run out to Horseshoe this year was just to get people out into Simcoe County and to see a little bit of the area around Wasaga Beach and over towards Barrie. We counted 175 cars on the run. It was a fun exercise, went without a hitch. The Ministry of Natural Resources has been very, very cooperative over the last couple of years with a number of functions we have here at the beach. So this year we went to them and said we have a specific year of car that we'd like to put out on the beach. In this case it was mid-year roadsters, starting with 63s. And we actually have a waiver form that they have to sign off to say, listen, the car is dry underneath, that it's not leaking any fluids, and it would be a big concern to us if there was a car on the other side, onto the beach area that was leaking transmission fluid, for instance. So we have a waiver form. We're paying attention to the type of cars we let onto the beach area, and we are properly insured. We have to be insured for $2 million liability to deal with the Ministry of Natural Resources here, and rightly so.
Well, we have a range of Corvettes here, probably from 56, 57, right up to the brand new 93s. And they've come from as far away as Pennsylvania. I saw a couple cars here today with Florida license plates. And last year we had a character with a Hawaii license plate, and we're not sure how he got here, but he was here. You can get into the Corvette hobby relatively inexpensively. You can get in with a decent 70s Corvette for less than $10,000, and you can have a lot of fun with that.
Number 9, Mary LaRocque.
I think the bikini contest is part of having fun at the beach. Certainly a testy subject this year in Toronto, bikini contest. But here at the beach, it seems that we can have a small, nondescript bikini contest, have some fun with it, and not be picketed.
This is where your boat comes in, guys.
Meet the Blackjack, one of the newest aftermarket alarms designed to fight carjacking.
Okay, basically, Brad, right now we're getting in the car to go to work in the morning. Put your key in the car as you always would. Start your vehicle. Enter in your own self-programmed code. You heard the confirmation chirp. You know that you're safe to drive the vehicle. Okay? Nothing will happen right now as long as you're going along.
So now you come to a stop sign.
Come to a stop sign. Stop it. Put your car in, as you stop the vehicle. Carjacker opens the door, forces you out. Carjacker's now in the car driving. Every time the door is open is when the code has to be punched in. So the carjacker, unaware of any system or any kind of deterrent that's in the vehicle, gets in the car, starts to drive away. There's approximately 30 seconds between when the door is closed to where the warning mode starts. The warning mode being when the brake lights in the rear of the vehicle start to flash so that any traffic that's behind you will be aware that something is going to happen. The vehicle is going to stop. Or it's just as if the person was touching their foot on the brakes. You heard those 5 chirps. That's the self-reminder to the person who owns the vehicle that will allow them to know, oh, I forgot to punch in my code. You see the code button now start to flash.
But a thief has no idea.
Has no idea. Also, if the thief tries to punch in any kind of codes into the switch that he doesn't know, random code settings will do nothing but cause the car to fail. Now the siren has gone off, the lights are starting to flash, the thief comes up to a stop sign, the vehicle stalls. Tries to restart the car. Even with the key, can't start the vehicle.
And we're safe distance from who owned the owner.
Exactly. With an audible and visual warning that will allow you to know where your car is or for the police to find it. This could be installed in any vehicle, regardless of standard car, fuel-injected car, automatic car. It averages about $300 to $350 installed per car. It's also made by Clifford Electronics, which gives you a lifetime warranty on the product itself, and we give a service that we transfer car to car for you at no charge, so you can retain that full warranty.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns telltale signs of alternator failure. I'm sure you're all aware that the battery on today's vehicles is rated at 12 volts, but it's the job of a unit like this, the alternator out under the hood of the car, to keep the system voltage boosted to around 14.5 volts anytime the engine's running. That charges the battery and keeps all the accessories working in the intended fashion. Now, if you notice accessories like the heater, turn signals, wiper motor, etc., working in a lazy or slow fashion, or that your headlights are kind of yellow and dim, that's a good indication that the alternator may not be working up to scratch. If you notice that symptom, curtail the use of as many accessories as you can, consult the dashboard gauges or idiot lights to see if there's any sign of a problem, and check under the hood simple things like belt condition and tension. Could be as simple as a slipping or missing cracked fan belt. In any case, you want to get that system looked at in fairly short order, because at that stage of the game you're working on just the battery and you won't go for long before that car dies on the road. That's your Midas tip of the week.
Kenzie's Corner with Jim Kenzie.
Viewers in Alberta and BC are already suffering from the latest invasion of our private lives by technology, and it's Ontario's turn next. I'm talking, of course, about photo radar. Now, this little camera will take a picture of the back of a speeding car and send a ticket to the owner of the car by tracing the license plate number. Now, photo radar is the height of hypocrisy. If the speeding car is so dangerous, why doesn't the cop actually stop it? But oh no, let them go with the drunks and the license suspendees and the guys with the broken tailpipes and the inoperative lights. We'll just send them a ticket. Because photo radar is a speed-triggered tax lottery, plain and simple. But what's really scary is the legislation they have to enact to make this fraud legal. It's George Orwell's worst nightmare come true. You think you've got the right to a fair trial? Or that you can face your accuser in court, or that you're innocent until proven guilty, or you can cross-examine prosecution witnesses? Hey, if you're a child molester or an arsonist or a rapist or a murderer, no problem. But if you're caught in a photo radar trap, sorry buddy, 1,000 years of British common law, from the Magna Carta down to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, into the toilet. The cop doesn't even have to show up in court. You just pay the money, shut up. Now, a few jurisdictions in the States have banned photo radar. And we're going to show you on a later show how we can do the same thing here in Canada. Meanwhile, contact your member of provincial parliament and complain like hell. This has to be stopped. I'm Jim Kenzie.
What's new from Land Rover, you ask? Well, you're looking at it, the V8-powered Defender 90. And we'll take a much closer look at this beast on a future show. So make sure you join us as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
TSN's Motoring 94 has been brought to you by Quaker State. Quaker State, one tough motor oil. And Midas. For brake, exhaust, suspension, and steering service, trust your car to Midas.
Meals on Wheels is always looking for volunteers. So if you live in the Metro Toronto area, call this number or check out your local branch. Next week, a real treat with our annual Car of the Year special as we select the best in '94. Make sure you join us.